Fox News is now streaming live on Fox One. When it matters most, turn to the voices you trust. We go beyond the headlines, bringing you the stories you won't hear anywhere else. Live coverage, sharp analysis, real perspective. At home or on the go, stay connected when it counts. Stream Fox News on Fox One. Download today.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me, taxi.
Okay, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Sunday morning. With us is Steve Cates, otherwise known as Dr. Sky. Well, I'm looking up in the sky. It's Sunday morning. What am I going to see, Steve?
Well, good Sunday morning to you and the listeners, John. The Ides of March are upon us, going back to the assassination of Julius Caesar back in 44 BC. But as we look skyward, John, here's an interesting story. These mega satellite constellation groups, like Starlink and the ones China's putting up, some scientists say that when those items enter the atmosphere, that they could cause some damage to the upper atmosphere. What is that? When they burn up, John, these things are mostly made of titanium and other metals, so that they produce aluminum oxide into the upper atmosphere, which changes the ozone content into the atmosphere. And we even find out further that research tells us of a 40% risk of ground casualties if a satellite doesn't burn up 100%, because they're fuel tanks. They're made up, again, John, of titanium and tungsten, and they may not officially burn up. So the Japanese, how about this? They've come up with an idea, don't laugh, folks, that they would be looking at manufacturing wooden satellites. In other words, you can launch them up in space in a protective little shield, but, John, they would burn up just like you throw something into the fire, thus reducing the risk of pollution around the world, and some of those subjects are serious.
Well, I guess if you're coming down at 17 miles an hour, like that other satellite the other day, if it's made out of wood, I guess it's going to burn up.
Absolutely. So we may be going back to older technologies, and only because, John, if you look at this, Starlink has over 11,000 satellites. The Chinese, they're developing, by the way, their own GPS. They're not depending on our GPS. There's a bunch of satellites.
Well, I guess some of the countries, like I won't mention the names, but Space Force turned off their GPS because I think they found out that they were informing Iran because of our troop movements or our ship movements.
You're absolutely right, John. GPS is so important, and if it's used in a negative way, well, why give the enemy an advantage? But that's an interesting story. But, John, closer to home, everybody's heard of the El Niño, where the water's warm in the Pacific and they change the weather here in the northern hemisphere and maybe the southern hemisphere. But meteorologists, John, are saying that this may become, later in 2026, the strongest El Niño that we've seen in at least 10 or 15 years. What does that mean, according to their predictions? A 2-degree centigrade increase, big atmospheric changes, hotter summers, and horribly more droughts around the world. And all the weather, John, I know people will say yay or nay with climate change and the whole subject. But simply, John, all weather comes from the sun, and we simply don't know really the depth of those solar cycles. But that's something that people might have to contend with if El Niño gives us some headaches.
Well, the Earth, it's a living entity. It keeps it keeps making wind. It keeps making hurricanes, whether warm the Earth or cool the Earth. It's a living entity. I mean, I am amazed that people haven't figured that out yet.
John, we've overcome so many extinctions. Not a good reason to pollute, obviously, to keep Mother Earth good. But we end off, John, always with the mystery of the week. And here's an interesting one. You and I have talked maps for so many episodes here on the Cats Roundtable. But in 1714, the British Parliament passed something called the Longitude Act. And they wanted to offer a prize for somebody who could come up with a practical method to determine longitude, meaning some sort of an instrument. And we go back to the Greeks and Romans when they, of course, studied this and divided the world into 360-degree lines of longitude. We know about latitude. But here's what happened. Two Englishmen, John Harrison and George Graham, were also the ones instrumental in developing these precise navigation clocks. And the one that won the big prize was the one called the H4. And why was that important? Because mariners could now go out in the ship and get a better position by sighting the sun or the moon and the stars and know exactly, or, well, in those days, as nearly as accurate as we can today. That, John, to me, is a great feat of technology, don't you think? That's amazing way back then.
It is. I will tell you, I still think there's something we don't know about things that were happening then.
And that's the end. That's not the end, I should say, of all the mysteries that we talk about, John, from the UFO subject to what's reality, what's consciousness. The beat goes on, and it's always impressive to be here with you and the audience on the Cats Roundtable. We always remind everybody, go back to the Dr. Sky Experience, where we get more in depth on these great subjects of astronomy, space, aviation, weather, and stories of American exceptionalism. We have you to thank, John, for providing the platform to open up our minds on these Sunday mornings. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for moving our minds on Sunday mornings. Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure. Have a good Sunday.